everybody. We are here with Ask a Filmmaker Podcast, episode 6. And we are here with Stephen Kessen. And we are excited to get started with this because it's been a while since we've been on camera, right? And seen each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like February, right? When was it, the film festival?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. So we're going to do some speed questions here to get warmed up, just to make it a little bit easier. And that's it. Here we go. Worst flavor for ice cream.
Worst flavor. Sorry, Jenny. I used to date a woman named Kelsey, and she worked at an ice cream parlor, and they had this tomato basil thing that was just god awful. So whatever that was.
Tomato basil ice cream. Wow. Okay. Friday the 13th or Halloween.
Oh man, I'm a Nightmare on Elm Street guy, and those are the options you give me. You pick the two silent ones. In terms of quality of storytelling, Halloween. Friday the 13th makes no sense.
Okay, perfect. I love it. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Absolutely.
Amazing. I love that. I say the same thing. All right. Camping or water park?
Water park.
All right. Well, that was our speed round. So how do you feel, Stephen?
Pretty good.
Yeah, no, I love doing that because you just never know what somebody's going to say, and they'll surprise you sometimes. I definitely have had that happen. So why don't you do a quick introduction? Obviously, you're a filmmaker. I know you as a producer. I did check out some information on you, and you do have 139 IMDb credits, if you didn't know. I counted them all. As an actor, writer, producer, cinematographer, editor, director, additional crew, script and continuity department, casting director, composer, sound department, and yourself, of course. So obviously that's a lot of territory to cover as a filmmaker, but I know I would like you to just share a little bit about what you've done, where you've, kind of how you got started into this, and then let's just go.
Well, growing up, my dad always loved watching movies. That's how he processed information. And when I was a kid, DVDs were a brand new thing, and you got to see special features, and I would watch behind the scenes footage, and I was like, I want to do that. And then I started spending my allowance on college level textbooks, and my dad and mom had a discussion where it's like, this isn't just a hobby for Stephen. This might actually be a career path. I went to a now defunct college called Collins, graduated in 2008 or 2011 from there. Took some time off to be in the real world, get a grown-up job, take care of my grandma. But then when everything went to hell in 2020, I got my master's degree in directing and producing from Regent.
Awesome.
So I've just been steadily making films, working with various people in the Valley, writing, directing, producing, all the jobs you listed there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I looked, I was like, wow. I mean, I would say the short amount of time, right? How many years has it been? It's probably been about 10.
My first IMDb credit ever, I think, is 0809.
Okay. So, a little bit longer than that, but still, that is a lot of busy activity, but not just busy. These are for finished products, right? The majority of them. Yeah. So that is amazing. So for me, just hearing what you've done, just as the intro, right? You educated yourself, you've been in the business, you got to know people. So jumping into our questions, based on all that experience, what's your most favorite memory on set?
Wrapping Moving Ashley. So I wrote a feature film, and the concept is so dry. It's about a socially awkward guy who helps his coworker move when her boyfriend kicks her out. And I know that sounds dry, and it sounds like the makings of a good comedic drama, and I think that's what it turned out to be. But I remember we wrapped production the day John McCain passed. And I'm not saying that that's what made it great. What I'm saying is that was an interesting story because the director and the cinematographer were both journalists at the time.
Okay.
And we were getting out of the car, and we had heard that McCain had passed away. And Christina King, who played Ashley, and I kind of looked at each other like, I bet you Melissa and Pat are going to get called into work because that's a major story. So they showed up to set and we were like, hey guys, did you hear the news? They're like, no, what news? I'm like, yeah, just turn off your cell phones and let's get to starting. And so I think that was the biggest memory, just because that was, I do a lot of features, but it's usually I'll show up for 3 or 4 days. But with Moving Ashley, I was there because I wrote it, I was there from script all the way through the editing process.
No, just to know that, right? I mean, when you're doing films, life still happens. And there are so many different things that can sidetrack you, interject itself unnecessarily or necessarily, depending on what the case is. Yeah. But, from a filmmaking perspective, right, the show goes on just like they say, right? Yeah. And even if you have to reschedule and reshoot or whatever, right, that doesn't deter you usually from trying to get something done, right?
No, not at all.
No, like I said, life happens. And I think that's when you can have a memory that's associated to actually getting something done. I think that's really great.
Yeah.
So I look at directors a lot myself personally because I'm a director as well. So why don't you tell me what directors have influenced you, or if you have a primary one that has, and why?
I feel like the go-to answer for that, for anybody of my age, and I'm 32, is Spielberg.
Okay.
I would love to say that I love Tarantino's work, but I'm not sure that it would inspire me in a way. It's more of just like, okay, you have a certain style and I like that style. Yeah. I'm a real kind of minimalist director where I don't go for like artistic angles. I like to focus on performance. So Kevin Costner as a director, Jim Jarmusch.
What's your favorite movie of Kevin's
that he's directed?
Yeah.
Dances with Wolves.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
Yeah. Let's see, who else? Aaron Sorkin, but I know he's known for mostly writing, but every film that he's directed I've loved.
No, that's really great. Like I said, I think everybody that's in filmmaking has some director that they watch, and even by default, I mean, I have movies that I haven't seen that when I want to watch it, there's a reason why, and then I find out because the director. Yeah. Right. So that's usually how I find out who's done what. All right. So which A-list actors would you like to work with if you had that opportunity?
Like to work with. My two favorite actors at this moment are Mark Wahlberg and Denzel Washington.
Oh, so wow. That's amazing. That's strong performers right there.
Yeah, which is ironic because I really didn't care for Two Guns, the movie they did together. You'd think that would be my favorite movie of all time, but it's like, no, that was kind of a misfire for both of them. But yeah, those are the top two. And then there's the greats, Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, stuff.
No, that's very good choices. I love it. You couldn't go wrong with either one of them, no. I don't think. So definitely. Favorite genre?
To watch or make?
Either.
To watch thrillers, to make romantic comedies.
Oh, nice. Okay, so that would be your default genre then that you'd always go to, is the romantic comedies.
Yeah, because it really showcases intelligent writing, because you don't have explosions or quote-unquote eye candy to rely on. And I think it's one of the more honest genres. Like, for example, Jerry Maguire, I think, is one of Tom Cruise's greatest performances ever, and he's not trying to save the world. He can barely save himself.
So for romantic comedies, then, if you had your choice of actors to work with for that, who would you work with outside of Denzel and Mark Wahlberg?
For romantic, I'm trying to think of who does rom-coms really well. Reese Witherspoon.
Yes.
Does those. I'm trying to think if there's been any really good kind of romantic comedies. The go-to director for rom-coms is Woody Allen. I know he's controversial right now.
Exactly.
So it's like Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, I think, gosh, I love her. Yeah, she's like really, really great. Another one I'll just throw out there, Aubrey Plaza. Oh my God, I love her. I had to throw that in because I just watched one of her movies last night. So
I don't know if our sense of humor just doesn't click. She's not a turnoff for me, but like I wasn't a big fan of Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, but I liked her in the remake of Child's Play.
Okay. I haven't seen that, so I'll have to watch that with her.
Were you talking about the one she did with Elizabeth Olsen?
Yes, of course. Yes, because they're such a pair together.
That was one where I was like, okay, there is talent behind this. So I'm glad that's the movie where you were thinking of. But if you were going to name like something else, I'd be like, okay.
Well, Scarlett Johansson, though, is hands down. I mean, I really love her. She's grown on me. I wasn't necessarily 100% a fangirl until she died. And then when she died but died in...
That's a breaking story if I've ever heard one in my entire life.
She did not die. I mean, fans, okay, calm down. She did not die. She died in one of the movies that she was in.
Hit woman Ava Lewis has placed a
Natasha Romanoff. Haha. Yeah, that's one of my favorite characters that she's played. And
is it like, what was your introduction to Scarlett Johansson?
Oh, it was when she was having an affair with a married man. I can't remember what the movie was, but I just remember her in a white button-up shirt after she had sex. and that was
Match Point?
I think it was Match Point. Yeah.
That's a Woody Allen film, I think.
Oh, yeah, probably. So, anyway. But, I think that was the first time that I'd seen her. And she just stood out. Like, there was just something about her. I don't know. She's got, she does have great eyes. Yeah. Definitely.
My intro to her was Home Alone 3.
Oh, wow. I did not see Home Alone 3. I don't think so.
It's probably the most underrated of them. Like, the sequels after that are garbage. But I was like, this was actually pretty good.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I liked 1 and 2, so I probably should see 3 then, I guess. So that's a good recommendation. Yeah. Thanks.
3,
So Scarlett Johansson from Romantic Comedy. Yeah. And we already touched on, Aubrey Plaza is not somebody you would probably work with. All right.
If the story was right, I don't 100% knock anyone.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And it's like you have choices, right? Yeah. I'm not going to work with everybody either, so I have my favorites. So for the male lead, so you've talked about the female lead at this point. Who on the male side would you have?
Chris Pratt. I think him and I have similar.
Okay.
Charlie Day.
Okay.
Just people who can really do sarcasm well. I don't know why I just blew past Ryan Reynolds, because when I said sarcasm, I was like, why would you not put Ryan Reynolds in that?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely one of those that can, he does all sorts of things. Now, the thing is trying to find him doing something serious, though. And I haven't seen it. And even if I see him in something where it looks like it's going to be serious, I can't see him as serious. That's my problem right now.
Have you seen Buried?
No, I have not.
He plays a guy that's trapped in a coffin, and he only has a cell phone, and he's trying to figure out how to get people to help him.
Okay, so that'll be another recommendation, Stephen. Thank you.
So, I like to give shout out to Ryan Reynolds' underrated films, because he doesn't do a lot of dramatic work, and and I can't in good conscience recommend Blade Trinity. Like, I just can't.
Oh yeah, no, I totally. It's kind of like The Matrix 4. So sorry, I can't do that either. Sorry, it's and I know I said that. I love Keanu Reeves though, but sorry. All right, so we're gonna move on. So toughest job on set besides camera work.
Toughest, that's going to change day to day, honestly.
Okay.
Producing is always the toughest job. And I listen to a lot of other podcasts, and there's a Hollywood producer named Chris Moore, and he summed it up beautifully, where it's you have no control over, yet you are entirely responsible for things that go on.
Yes.
And I can't.
I understand that feeling. I've produced all my films, so pretty much I got you. Yes, every film I've been in that, since I've been doing, actually film work on crew side, I've produced, so I know. Yeah.
During Moving Ashley, Melissa Farley, the director, she nicknamed me Okay. because she thought like she would show up on the day, would be like, hey Steven, we're making this slight change, and I would be like, I'm gonna have to pick my battles every day. So it's like, you don't want these characters to carry groceries, you want them to change a tire instead. I'm not gonna fight you on that. Okay, have fun. I'm gonna go learn my lines because that's what I need to do. Like you, like however you want to direct. And she was like, you really are one of the easiest going people in the world. I'm like, if I fight with you on something, it's because I truly 100% believe in what I'm doing. And we didn't have one single argument. It's like that. I'm like, I hired you to direct because I trust you.
Yeah.
So,
oh, that's great. I mean, to have confidence in the crew that you're working with, especially when it's something that you wrote, right?
Yeah.
And then you're participating in the film, of course. It's hard to let that go and to let somebody else lead that. So no, I can imagine that must be, challenging there, but the producing side also, right?
Yeah, well, it doesn't make sense to hire people just for you to tell them how to do their job. Like hire them because they know how to do their job. So producing it's always the tough, and you're dealing with egos. Unfortunately, we didn't have too many of that on set, but it's just there's a whole lot of moving parts and stuff. That's why whenever I hear like a producer yelled at somebody, and like I always take the producer's side. Yeah. Like Scott Rudin threw a stapler at somebody. I'm like, duck. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, stop pissing off Scott Rudin. Like, stop doing that. Like, but then you have cases like, I know he's sacrilege to say now, but Weinstein, who actually did do terrible things. And it's like, yeah, you deserve to be where you're at. But it's like, this producer yelled at me. Stop pissing him off. He's got so many different things to do right now.
I mean, it's like you have to wear multiple hats and be able to change on a dime. Right? Yeah. Pretty much. Got it. All right. So we're going to go into some of the things that I hopefully are your favorite awards. So why don't you talk about some of the awards that you've received?
My favorite one, and it's not to knock any film competition, but the trophy is just amazing. It was the Las Vegas Film Awards. They awarded Moving Ashley a few different awards. Liza Davis and Mackenzie Jones got awards for their supporting performances. I got one for writing, and Melissa and Ann Cabano got one for producing. So it was really nice being selected by that festival. But going international was great. Like the Red Film Festival in Champagne, France was nice, giving Christina a win. So India's confusing because they awarded us wins and things we didn't qualify for. So I think there was a huge language barrier in what we submitted.
Possibly, yeah.
Melissa Farley won 5th place Best Actress for a film she's not in.
Okay.
So that was an interesting one. But that's just Moving Ashley. On the other side, I produced a social media satire starring William Kenny and Adrian Stephanie called Check-In, and the Sweden Film Festival awarded Adrian Supporting Actress.
Oh, no, that's great. I mean, I think that's one of the things that's really nice about the productions that I've seen you do is that it's not like you're just doing it for yourself, right? You're actually doing it to help promote and push other people's careers by giving them opportunities to get their stuff produced, or for you to write something so that they can actually be part of it. And so for me, just knowing that's, I mean, after again 139 credits on IMDb, clearly you're doing a lot for a lot of people in a lot of different roles. So why don't you talk a little bit about why that's important to you?
It's just, anytime you make a movie, regardless of how simple it is, like, and I'm going to keep going back to Moving Ashley because it's by far the biggest success I've had. It's about a guy who helps his coworker move. Like, you need 3 people, main cast, and 2 locations. She's moving from one location to the other. It's almost fail-safe, but that's minimalistic. And you still need people. Like there's 20 some credits in Moving Ashley whose name's not mine. So it's like, I want to help promote other people and get things done. And there's a quote called "no paralysis through analysis." So it's like, let's not talk about getting stuff done.
Right.
Let's actually do it. What do you need from me? And sometimes in the producing capability, it's like, we need you to help hire people, or can you help us raise money, or things like that. And other times it's just, I just need this one thing, and then you can sit back and relax. So it's talking with people and
No,
figuring out
that's
what they
great.
need.
So because you're in the Arizona market right now, as far as where you live and location, do you find, like, for the work that you've done in Arizona, you have plenty of people to work with, or do you actually find people reaching out to you from other places that are interested in working with you too?
After moving, Ashley went to the Phoenix Film Festival, which is one of the biggest festivals in the country. People are reaching out to me to help them. I've produced a couple films in the UK and Australia. They've been shorts. I've worked with people in my home state of Ohio. I'm producing a movie called Mothman right now.
Oh, is that like the original Mothman? That's like one of my favorite, the Mothman prophecies.
Oh,
Sorry.
I think, no, it's okay.
I went down a side rail.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's, they came at me with a concept, and I was like, I like Ohio. I like the found footage thing. Yeah, I can help you out.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Well, I'm definitely interested just because I like the Mothman prophecies. So
So I know that I have some pretty questionable titles on my IMDb page. So it's nice
it was a lot, let me just say. And you've had a lot of roles. I mean, that's where you have the highest number of credits. I think you have, like, let me just double check again. I think it's 42. Oh, no, 45. Excuse me.
Yeah.
45 acting credits.
Amityville, the Killer Poo was the last one to get added.
Oh, my gosh. So is that a horror or a comedy or both?
Both.
Oh, nice. Okay, is that somewhere to be seen? Can you see that somewhere?
They're still filming it right now.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
I filmed my part remotely.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
all right. And where's that one being produced out of?
Man, I need to check their page.
All right.
It,
well,
but
be looking for, what is it?
It's
Amityville Poo?
Is it the Killer Poo?
Oh, I don't have the actual title on there yet.
Yeah,
so.
And it was really one of those lessons of don't ever count somebody out.
Right.
Because I saw him promoting the thing, and he's like, we need somebody to pretend to be a comedian, just shoot a 1-minute stand-up act. I'm like, I can do that against my green screen. I sent it to him, and there's a killer piece of excrement that goes around killing people, and I'm like, there's no market for this whatsoever, but it's an acting credit, and I'm gonna have fun with my acting credits as long as I can. And I look him up on IMDb. He has more awards than I do. Like,
wow.
I have 7. He has 22.
Wow.
And you can see some of the stuff he does on streaming services like Shudder. So I'm like,
oh, nice.
All right, I'm going to work with this guy.
Yeah,
and
no
I'll
doubt.
I'll just make B-grade horror films, and that's not to knock B-grade. It's like,
no, they're great. Some are, just really fantastic. Because they're entertaining. You already know going into it. You're not looking at you're not looking at a multi-million-dollar film that's got A-list actors. You're looking at pure entertainment when you're watching those. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
No, that's awesome. I love it.
That was my last credit added.
Okay. Well, okay. So that is not an award yet, but I have to believe that if you're working with an award-winning filmmaker, you have a shot.
I produced with Ted Tanaka and Dylan Garcia a movie called Her Monster. And that's cleaning up at festivals as well.
I think I've seen some stuff posted from Ted. So, no, that's awesome.
And that was a simple, just help us out on this one thing and we'll give you a producer credit. I'm like, all right, cool. And then I'm just like collecting awards. And I'm like, you're the man, Ted.
Yeah, that's excellent. Right? Well, and that's the other part of it, right? You brought up how you're helping people and now people are reaching out to you, but they've always been reaching out to you. So I look at this that you're just like what you were saying, Melissa said, that you're somebody easy to work with from that standpoint. And I think that does make a big difference. Oh, and there's our alarm. So we are going to take a quick break and we will be right back. Welcome back. We are here with Stephen Kessen, and we just had a great first half talking about his IMDb, which is just, you'll never get done reading the whole list of all the things he's been part of. Talking about some of the awards he's received, and then also like some of the genres that he enjoys participating in. So now what I'd like to get into on this section is really, what is your creative process, and like what are all the different areas that you actually like to create in besides just the writing?
So from the get-go with the writing process, it's, do I have a story or do I have a concept? If I have a concept, can I flesh it out to a story? Like, I'm working on a play right now, not a screenplay, but like an actual play. And it's making sure that I have a beginning, middle, and end. I'm not one of those writers that will just write and it ends where it ends. I have to know how it ends before I even start. When I do that, I write about 10 pages a day, and I usually have music playing, and most of the time it's a female solo artist that does it. I've just noticed that they provoke certain explicit emotions and just helps me write. In terms of acting, I love the research process on it. It's researching for as long as I can, learning the lines, getting coached on that. I've got a wonderful acting coach. Hi, Billy. And then editing, it's just me being by myself, headphones on, and just in that zone.
And what editing software are you using?
Final Cut Pro X.
Okay, very good.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
because
say
you
that
have
like
to
a
kind of
commercial.
plug. I know it is kind of like a commercial, but everybody has different editing, tools that they use. So I always ask what that is because I edit too. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people swear by Adobe Premiere, but they switch to a subscription thing. And I'm like, Final Cut, it's one amount and you own it. So from a financial standpoint, why would you not do that? But
yeah,
people edit with Premiere, and I like the quality of their work. People edit with Final Cut, I like their work. So
yeah. Well, and Resolve is out there, right?
Yeah.
For like black magic people, like but I dabble in all of that. To me, it's always about what can you do with color. Like that's super important when I'm like doing my stuff. So, all right. So you've touched on the writing, you've touched on the acting, you touched on the editing. What else?
Directing, I don't like to say I'm a pushover director, but there have definitely been days where I've gone to set and gone up to the actors going, okay, what are we doing today? And they will have so many ideas, and then I will either register, okay, I had something else planned, or I didn't do my job of coming up with deciding what to do for this scene. I'm glad they did their job, my job for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, sounds good. I'm just going to go set up this camera and you guys rehearse. Like, honestly, there are a couple films where I'm listed as a director where it's like, I could probably share that credit with somebody, but they're letting me take credit for it. And it's creating, because I want them to tell me the environment that they're comfortable with. And,
Yeah, no, and I think, but just to hear you say that, this is the one thing that I will say. I like directors that will be collaborative with their actors because there are things, I'm not going to say, okay, if you have a vision for your scene, right? I don't want an actor necessarily coming in to tell me, hey, I want to do it this way, and it doesn't match what the goal was for the scene, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a fine line that you walk when you're collaborating with actors, but in the scenario that you're talking, it's great to get input where they're providing ideas because it's not always the case, right? I mean, I'm sure there's been scenarios where maybe you have an actor and you've got to give them more guidance than you thought you would need because maybe they don't have the vision for it.
We had that on Ashley where there was an actor who they just had trouble with their lines. And so it's like, okay, let's take a minute. And, I don't write the most intelligent dialogue. So it's not like scientific terms. They just were struggling with it. So it was working with that kind of process. But it's fun to collaborate because I'm the type of person, I can't find faults in my own logic And I know
right.
that sounds narcissistic.
No, I totally am right there with you. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's like I thought of it, so I know I'm good. But then you have to talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll never understand all the holes and gaps that there are. So, yes, I get it.
Yeah, so it's just like, this makes sense to me. Does it make sense to anybody else? No. All right, so we're going to sit and talk.
No, yeah. Well, and like I have, I don't know if you've had this experience, but for me, I'll dream I have a lot of film ideas, but not that they come from the dream, is that I actually dreamed it in scenes where it was actually the scene of the film or like multiple scenes. I've had that, and I've been doing that for years where dreams I feel like are a little bit of a portal into the film world for me, which is very weird. But I use that to kind of flesh out the idea. Like I have it, I'll write the dream down, and then I always have to talk to somebody about it. Yeah, I think it's super important to have other people see your work, even if it's not ready. You've got to have somebody that you can work with on it. I have written one script where, like, out the gate, it was, and I wrote it as a short, and the person that read it said, this has got to be a feature film, because there was so much that you could do with just from the short. Yeah. And I thought that was great. Like, you know, when you have those type of experiences, but in most cases, it's like, no, you got to flesh things out, I think. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. So with the creative process, anything else that you do to help you, or what inspires you besides, like you were saying, female vocalists or solo artists?
Yeah. Living life. Like a lot of my scripts I drew from people that I've interacted. Like the play that I'm working on right now, it's Whiplash meets Punchline.
Okay.
And it's about a bunch of stand-up comedians who have a harsh stand-up comedy teacher.
Okay.
And a lot of them I drew from when I took stand-up comedy classes and stuff, and meeting all those fully fleshed, interesting characters. I'm like, this is really helpful. And it's been one of the easier things for me to write, but I never try to write more than 10 pages a day because I'll lose steam. And at that point, you're writing just to fulfill an imaginary deadline. 10 max is where I'm at. So. Okay.
So since you brought up the stand-up comedian, because you do that work as well, why don't you share some of your like your latest experiences on that? Are you still doing that, or is that something that you've put on the? Okay, so talk about some of your performances that like have been your favorite and what you're looking forward to in stand-up comedy, because there's a lot of things to be comedic about.
Yeah. Well, I took Dave Speck's stand-up comedy course at Improv Mania.
Okay.
And that was one of the greatest courses ever, because I knew I could be funny, but I'm a funny storyteller. I'm not really good with jokes. And when you perform, you've got 5 minutes. So it's like, I need to get the one-liners down.
Right. Okay.
And he's really good at kind of honing that craft. The showcase was fun. During the showcase, my first showcase, I went up first, and there was a guy sitting in the front row. I knew he had a couple of drinks, but he was nice to me.
Oh.
But towards the female comics, he wasn't so nice.
Oh.
To the point that the owner of the club was a little bit worried, like, hey, what's this guy doing? And he publicly cut the guy off from alcohol.
Oh, wow.
Like,
okay.
Wow. But it's... that was an interesting experience. And then I just performed at JP's Comedy Club, and there's I'm an only child, and there's another stand-up comedian that was an only child as well, and we bonded over that. And she had a great joke about, like, I hope you guys like dad jokes, because I'm my dad's only one. And I was like, can I borrow that for when you're not using it? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. And we just traded one-liners.
Oh, no, that's awesome. I love it.
So, yeah, those are fun. But that's definitely the newest kind of performing art thing that I'm doing. So.
Okay, so do you have any performances scheduled? Are you working on anything for the next performance?
I'm still writing a few different things, but I'm going to be JP invited me back to do kind of like a spotlighted performance Thursday. And then
wow, so this Thursday?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Amazing. So, okay. So that means I need to get this podcast out now.
You're fine.
So we can promote that. Yeah. So that's one thing I will ask is share the information about the performance for sure. So we can, and I will add it in here. So, okay. Yeah. No, that would be great. So,
but it's, at that point, it's just me writing, and the difficult process is I like to do dry delivery of one-liners, and I also do some sort of dad jokes, but I do jokes where you like have to think about it for a second. Like one of my favorite ones is I was born July 1st, therefore anybody who interacts with me is a cancer survivor.
Oh, wow.
And then you have to go, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, you have to really be into astrology to get that joke. And that's when the audience goes, damn it. Like, why?
No, that's great. It's so good, though, because it's subtle, but it gets the point, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and the comedy club owners love it because you're respecting their time.
Yeah.
They don't have to flash or be like, hey, can you wrap it up? And then the audience is just like, I don't have to listen to a long-winded story. So it's,
That is good. So, well, I'm excited for you to share that information.
Will do.
And I definitely would like to see some of your stand-up comedy for sure. So now that we've touched on that, because I wanted to make sure I had an opportunity to talk about that, what future projects do you have in the works? I mean, obviously you've already touched on a couple, but go ahead into more specific detail on what you have going.
Right now it's just writing the play, and then getting back into the stand-up. I'm still auditioning for things. I just finished a series of commercials earlier this weekend for the Majestic Movie Theater.
Okay.
So as of right now, in terms of shorts or features on the horizon, I'm open for business. I'm not working on anything.
No, that's exciting. So, yeah, I know we had talked, I think back in February, like I said, about, we have projects that we're working on. So definitely that's something that we'll probably be hitting you up with. But as far as here's an opinion I will ask for kind of just the film industry in general. Right. You've seen still a lot of remakes are happening. There is one film that came out, I think it was in April, the Nick Cage film that I really want to see.
Massive Talent, yeah.
Yeah, Massive Talent. I'm like, I would not normally say I'd go to a movie theater to see Nick Cage, but in this instance I would, because the whole storyline, the setup, the promotion that they did with it was done so well. But, just based on, the remakes, you have a couple of standout, releases happening. Kind of what's your feeling about where the film industry is going in general? And are you excited about what you're seeing? Are you ready to make your own stuff more so people can see that versus, what's happening in, I'll say at Hollywood or, some of those other places?
Well, I would love to make my own stuff, but in terms of where the industry's going, streaming services are taking over.
Oh, gosh, yes. I've heard so many things about Netflix losing shares, they're losing subscribers and all of that. But with streaming, what is that? Does that open up an opportunity for us or... what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, you have stuff like Amazon where you can just put your stuff up. Amazon at this point is just more of a celebrated YouTube thing. Netflix, they're a little more calculated. Your films have to be produced a certain way. But I mean, there's so many streaming services, and it really has become consumer friendly, but not filmmaker friendly, because you're competing with so much, and so many different movies are getting made, but studios, the big 5 studios, they really don't want to touch on anything unless it's a franchise.
Right.
And superhero films have been killing it for over a decade now.
Yeah, they have.
But I mean, they're still finding ways to continue. We don't have a lot of one-offs films anymore. It's always okay, what's the potential for a sequel? And stop worrying about a sequel. Let's just create a movie that audiences can enjoy. I wrote a sequel to Moving Ashley just because it's okay, well, what if this does take off? And it wasn't as fun for me to write. Because there were some jokes that I thought would play well in the first one that didn't. So I'm well, I got to scrap that because that joke didn't go as well as I'd hoped. But I'm cautiously optimistic. I think we'll get back to our roots, but as of right now, in the age of TikTok and YouTube and everything,
geez, yeah.
you know, everybody's a filmmaker.
Well, YouTube, I have to say I have YouTube channels.
As do
so,
I.
yeah. So, right. So I'm like, I still need YouTube to be around. And, you know, because Vimeo is still, hey, the placeholder for things. But for me, YouTube is, if you want to get like exposure for at least things that you have done that aren't going into formal distribution, it is a great platform for that. And I can't wait to, you know, like, again, you have these 139 credits, so I'll probably want a list of some of those things that are actually out there, because I know you probably have to have something that's out online, viewable.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of YouTube and stuff, but yeah.
Well, Melissa wants to change music on Moving Ashley. That's the one I'm excited for everybody to see.
Yeah.
A lot of the films that I'm producing right now, like, I've already done my job on that. They're making it right now. The film that I worked on here that I helped produce, The House That Eats Flesh, is with the studios.
Oh, nice.
So we're, I've got some YouTube things like The Breakup Diner. It's on there.
Okay.
If you look up Steve Kessen on YouTube, you can see the shorts that I've done and collaborated
Well,
with.
yeah. Why don't you jump into sharing your contact information? Because definitely we want to have you share that, but I'll also add it to the podcast and everything. So how can people find you?
It's actually stupid easy. It's StephenKessen.com. I've just created one website, and it helps me kind of manage everything.
Oh, no, that's great. I love it.
Yeah, you can see my resume. You can see the reel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I have, avalewis.com too. So we think alike. All right.
I mean, it just makes sense where it's just like...
Yeah, I do have some other websites, but I always tell people avalewis.com is a portal to everything else, or chronicbehavior.com. But, you know, that's how I got it set up. So
yeah. No, I'm SteveKessen.com, and you can check out, I've got my own section for movie reviews, which I need to update.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, it's...
Yeah, totally. That would be great. You've already given me like movies that I need to see now since we were talking. So I'll definitely be rewatching the podcast for those recommendations. Yeah, because sometimes I actually learn stuff in the podcast that I do. So this is great. I love it. So I guess we're at a close now, but are there any words of advice that you would leave for filmmakers that are out there, either starting into the career, or maybe they've hit a tough spot and they're not sure what they want to do? What's some advice that you would give a filmmaker?
Oh man, your podcast just got extended an hour.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I'm totally good with that. We can do it.
If you're just starting out, you can make movies on your cell phone now. Grab a cell phone, figure out how to work the thing, and grab your friends and make movies. And then learn how to talk to other people. People have different personalities, and people respond well to certain things and not so well to others. In terms of how you act, don't burn bridges unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah.
I've worked with a few people that are questionable, and I'm using that term with Christ-like generosity.
Nice.
And it's keep your circle as, fairly small, but be open, and don't ever look back, and always learn. You're either going to make money or gain some knowledge.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love it. Thank you for sharing that wisdom. I think we'll bring the podcast to a close, but we're going to be sharing Stephen's contact information. Thank you for taking the time this Sunday Memorial Weekend to chat with me and, just have some good conversation about film.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, everybody.